Hi there, my name is Greg. In this video I'm going to be talking about the Prince Anderw photo. To be fair, when I'm talking about something like this I get a little nervous, so that combined with a few other things, COVID mainly, and what's happening in Ukraine, I'm going to be pretty upfront about this because I'm starting to get a bit ticked off. I'm seeing so many people taking what I've discussed about this and are using it for their own means to say, oh, this is the truth, that's the truth. You know what? Let me be really up and front and frank about this. I'm only looking at what the actual truth in the image is, not somebody else's conspiracy theorist view, not something to help somebody get out of jail free card or something like that. I'm going with what the evidence suggests. So I've got two images up here. One of them is for one of the more fuller images, which is on the left. You can see a cursor circling around Virginia here. The other one is a slightly more close-up image, which you will be able to see a little bit more of the finer details. But I just want to clarify a couple of things here from the outset. This is actually a couple of different images stitched together, so it's, to be fair, it's pretty hard to spot. But you've actually got photo distortion being used here. There's a tool called Dodge, which is this finger tool in Photoshop. So I'm just gonna duplicate the layer. Yep. Calling this one delete because I'm gonna literally do just that. So we're just gonna zoom in here a bit, and I'm going to use the Dodge tool to show you just on the arm here. You can see it's nice smooth up. This is what the Dodge tool does. So you can make something that looks sharp look a little bit more smoother. It's a very subtle tool, but here you can see where they've actually gone down the side and they're trying to hide this line. Now there's a line which is an overlap of two images. So as you can see, I've not altered this image besides this section here and this section here, but if you look carefully you can see signs of that same tool being used down the side here to just blur the lines to make it a little bit harder to spot what's going on here. Now this looks like somebody's basically gone and copy pasted an image from sorry, they've used a clone tool. There's a tool here called the clone tool, which is this stamp tool. So I'm going to use it briefly here. I'm gonna what I'm going to do, go across here, and I'm going to do a little bit of touch up to make the hair look a little bit more like it should be here. Take some of that in, and just trying to make it look a little bit more like it's actually naturally that texture. So it's not a good job, it's just poor, but it will do the job. I should actually be thinner, but you know what, I'm not doing a Photoshop job. But this is what the clone tool can be used for. So if you want to hide something like distortion, for example, which I'm just going to hide here. So here there's an actual distortion line where something's been altered around. So from here, in going to do a little loop around. This object here has been altered, so in this space there's signs of distortion. There's a sign here of distortion, and there's signs of distortion across here where somebody's gone and altered the image significantly to hide something. Now my suspicion why this is the case is just here, and humour me, just down the side here we have what is the side of Virginia's leggings. So I'm just going around the contour of where her leggings are. You can see there's a distinct difference in colour texture just down the side here, and I'll explain what that is in just a second. So roughly this is what where the side of her leggings are in this image. And what this is here is a Photoshop shadow. Now I'm going to go the other side of this to make it a little bit easier to spot. Because it's extremely hard to spot. And there are bits here I can't actually tell the difference between the background fully, but I can see a bit of a line here. So what's crucial about this and what's important about what I'm highlighting here? Well, this isn't a fake shadow. This is where somebody's used the Photoshop tool to basically create a shadow. Now, why is this important? What's the significance behind this? And what kind of clue can we get from this? This image has been altered. Well, I'm going to get this little cursor back here. Well, if you look at how this hand is put in, now it's another sign where somebody's done some photoshopping. Again, you can see here the dodge tool has been used to blend this into the surface. I think they've used what's the tool? I think they've used the blur tool to do this. Yeah, they use the blur tool. Sorry, I'm testing here to look at basically how this pattern is emerging. And they've used the blur tool just here to blur this into the texture, so it makes it more and more plausible that this is somebody's actual hand being pushed against the image. The problem we got is there's also the Gaussian blur has been added to the image to hide it, but basically this is where it's been distorted and added on. So what we got? So knowing that this is fake, let me knowing that this is a composited image. So this hand here was not in the real image; it was added onto this image. Let's have a quick look at that shadow in a little bit more detail. So this shadow was done, my belief, from here. So I'm just going to show you. And that's not. So my guess is from sort of about here down to this side of, well, actually it looks like the whole image, to be fair. Zoom in again. So once you have a look right down the bottom here, between the crotch, see there's no detail, absolutely zero detail between the crotch. It's just black, and it's the same sort of black as you have over here. I'm gonna see. There should be some detail here. So again, let's do that. We've got signs of blackness here, but again, it's weird because it's absolutely black. Same black temperature here as you have here. We also have this little anomaly here, which I've been told again and again by people. It's a fake mole. It's possible, it's just very black. But I'll show you something else which is interesting. See this line here? This has also been photoshopped. That's been if you're using the black brush tool, like we did. Okay, that should be in. Similar. that's a little too grey. I think it's just more darker. Try this again. So that's any better. Okay, yeah, that's close to it. So I'm just going to drop the fill level to about 5, or about 5 will do. And we're just going to do the same sort of line here. No, too much, even too much there. Step back. So let's take it down to 4. Yep, I'll say that's bad image. So what's been painted on here is with a paintbrush, and I'll just show you why I can tell this is a paintbrush. It's a bit of an obvious clue if you know what you're looking at. See how this is the actual trouser pants of Prince Anderw? Well, we've got a line here which looks like the same kind of black ink here, and we've also got this little tip here and this little tip here which has been smoothed in, which looks a little bit out of place. So when you're looking at an image and you're trying to tell if it's been photoshopped, this is kind of the things you're looking at. Things that don't quite make sense. So literally how this seems a bit out of place. It's a little bit darker than the background. Okay, it could be something else. It could be black rope or something like that. But the way it just looks like it's been painted in. So if I use the blur tool here, I should be able to smooth that off a bit. You start seeing it's looking a bit more like it. Now, admittedly, I've not got the same colour. I think they use purple. So I've got here yellow. So if I go to purple, black, and I paint again, I should get something similar. Not quite, where is it? Undo, undo, step backwards, right, I need a different black. So they're not quite that. Here's the reason. So if you have a look here in the pigment, you can see it sort of has this purpley blue colour to the pigment. It's not pure black, but it's a purpley blue line. That's why I'm looking at. I don't really use Photoshop that often, so admittedly that's my problem. So again, we continue up this side again, and you can see all these little distortions. Now this is meant to be Virginia's arm, we can see in this image. So if you're looking here, this is meant to be her other arm. Now if you're lining up a shot and somebody's cuddling you, because we see the hand which is inserted here, this kind of suggests that's where the arm might well be. But then we start looking here, and where his elbow should be, it doesn't seem to be, so we're looking, rotation would be from there to there, to there. So the elbow will be about here on this image. Here, here, no. Let's go from that position. So that's going that way. That's going to go that way. Around there. Don't mind my working out, just working out how that should be. Okay. So this elbow should be moving somewhere over in this direction. So we're looking at the elbow being about here, and it seems the cuff seems to be here, so I don't think that would be his arm. The other, that's to get this particular position with the arm. So if you look at how your body moves, how you have certain characteristics on the body. So this is not my field of expertise, it's just analysing when you're looking at a photo how torso would move, how to actually, in what would look natural and what would look weird. So I'm working out basically where basically his elbow should be on the other side, because he's not straight on, he's sort of in that sort of pose. So as this arm might be here, this one would be here in space, so it's where it actually would line up to join there. So since his elbow, sorry, what am I saying, his elbow, undo, step backwards, step backwards, step backwards. Right, so Prince Andrew's shoulder is here. We take the same length down, so we're going to go new layer here. So we're going to take a bit distance from here to here. So this is the shoulder, this is the other shoulder. Okay, we're going to go to Edit, Transform, Rotate. So we want to do that. So if we take that same position, okay, so the elbow should be here. No, that won't be right. So let's change it. Edit, Transform, Rotate. And rotate back. About there. So what we're looking at should be the, so again, that's where his arm will be, but how far is that layer? Edit, new layer, yes. I want to measure that distance from here to here. Okay, so layer, so we can take this element, put that there, take it around, so it's about here. So if we go to that layer, so that's where the shoulder should be. So if we look at this image now, so we can get back to where we can actually see the arm. It doesn't make sense being there. Now I have had to do this again because I spent a little bit more detail working that bit out, but I concluded it wasn't real. I concluded it had been photoshopped in. So we notice it's here when, as you just saw me do, we worked out the elbow joint should be about, sorry. So the elbow joint should be somewhere around here, and that arm is in the wrong place. So it's been photoshopped in and somebody's got it in place. So this implies that his, that would imply his elbow is somewhere here, when in reality it's here. So it doesn't make sense. Now I invite you to to do this, to try and work this out and prove it wrong. Now, what I'm looking at is basically how the shoulder moves. So it's possible that you can have transition from, so say this is the starting point. His shoulder can go down by this much. It can also go up by this much. So it's possible it can go in a transition period. So yeah, you can make that happen, but we don't see a sign of that. If you look here in the image, we have what looks like his shoulder, which is down. So that's going to be very similar to this, just by a fraction. So where his shoulder would be is sort of around here. So we know it's it's got a transition path down to about here. But the problem is we don't see any sign of that shoulder, because you would see the shoulder slouched down, or see it slouched up to indicate it's been moved up or down, but we don't see that in the image. So simplest and easiest conclusion is this is counterfeit. That's been painted in, that's been photoshopped in, and the easiest way to do this, I'm just going to show you brush tool. Oh, where is it? Oh, it's down here. Can't find it. Our easiest tool is to use colour. Now, if you're myself and you've done quite a lot of photoshopping, then you're going to know another way to do it. But we can do use this tool called colour, and that gives us enough texture in the image to create a texture over a fabric. In this case, Miss Maxwell's top here is getting painted a nice colour of pink. Pretty simple to do, and it retains the colour information. It retains the textural detail. Now there is another tool you can use, which is my favourite tool for this, which is a soft light, which allows me to have a little bit more colour control in it. So I can do down here, I can actually paint on again with textural detail, but actually it starts to look a little bit more, it doesn't look ridiculously fake, but it kind of looks more realistic. So you can see here, we do Prince Andrew's top here. You can see it actually retains the detail. Now it's more likely that they've used a soft light filter, but you can use a colour tool to do the same effect as well. But as you can tell, that looks pretty convincing that that might actually be a pink shirt, doesn't it? Sorry, I'm enjoying colouring in now. So I'll just finish that in a second. Yeah, so it's a tool which I think has been used in this image. So we've got a couple of things now here to question about. Let me do a couple more bits on this, and then I'll go on to the other image. So we're establishing here that this side is being photoshopped in. You can look a little bit further, but if you look at the hand down here, again, it's just something about it doesn't look right. It's the way the shadow goes across. It's as if somebody used that same tool and tried blurring out the detail, which we can see down this side of the image, like they've just tried to blend it in. It's very subtle, but I don't think Prince Anderw has a protrusion like that on his hand, and it doesn't kind of look right. It looks like somebody's tried to blend the image to make it look like it's real there, or to make it look like it's convincing that this is the real image. But there's anomalies here in the image. This I'm not sure about. If you look at hands, you look at faces, you look at skin texture, you realise it's multicolored, multi-dimensional, multi-layered textures. One of the things I enjoyed was learning how to actually make a photo work, because back in the 1990s, early 2000s, you could get a digital camera and it couldn't take persons of African American descent. You have any person with dark skin, it goes crazy when it tries to analyse the image, which drove me nuts because I'm looking at a photo and it just looks wrong. It's too dark or too light, and it was learning how to balance the shot, balance the image, and make it look realistic. And it always annoyed me. It annoyed me because it's something which is simple to fix. Because I had a triple CCD camera, and that's fine. It takes a little bit of hassle, but I can get a good shot, and the colours look bright, colourful, and to the point. But the problem with digital cameras back in the late 1990s, early 2000s were they're awful when it came to dark skin. If you try and gain any tan, it would just come up with these crazy anomalies and colour shifts, which just really astounded me that they didn't think that was something people would want. And I wanted it. I wanted nice reproductive images, but then you have to go and fix an image because the image processor is terrible. It's not a good thing. So yeah, there's a couple of the issues we have. So down the hand here, we can see these kind of strange anomalies. We can see what looks like a shadow, but it doesn't quite look right. Now, it looks like somebody's gone up and painted with the opacity down. It just doesn't look right. So you can see through that. Let's do that. So it looks like they're trying to just make it a little bit, maybe it's a little higher opacity. Yeah, that looks like it's because it looks a little bit odd. Here's why it looks a little bit odd. Just up the top here, we don't see any shadow. Now we suddenly see a shadow here, which I don't know about you, but if I'm getting a shadow created, I'd be really questioning why there's no shadow cast here. Now, I know about light pattern reflection because I can show you examples of how different light sources interfere with the shadows, and you can actually have a single light source create 3 different shadows, which is awesome to look at. You look at it and go, oh, okay, where's the reflection points? Where's the reflections to create these other 2 shadows? And it could literally be just a white wall. A white wall has just enough reflection in it, light reflection, which it casts another shadow, which I still find hard to believe, but I know it does that. So yeah, but your other things are literally anything from a little bit of plastic or a bit of glass or something which is just in the shot, which catches a little bit of light, reflects it back, and yeah, you get a shadow, which is really weird but really impressive at the same time. So let's get out of this image. Now there are some other things over here which puzzle me. To be fair, I've gone into and out of these images multiple times, and whilst I can see anomalies here, mainly a line here and a little bit of distortion here, I kind of accepting that probably that's the compression algorithm, because there's when you digitize an image, unless it's in uncompressed, so raw format, TIFF, a very large file, and it's as uncompressed as possible, you're going to get a degree of optimization. The more you optimize, the more the distortions start appearing. And to be fair, when I look at Miss Maxwell here, I don't see much of a distortion here. I do see some tweaking, but it looks more like somebody's going to tweak the image because they just want to make the image look nice, rather than so we go into image adjustments, levels, and we're just going to maybe there. admittedly this is this is quite late at night. This is 10 o'clock at night, so I'm using artificial light, so this would not look great, but trying to just balance it up. Yeah, it could be worse. Yeah, so they might have been going through trying to clean up the image. I've just totally forgotten that this is a composite image, so I'm sitting there going, what's going on here? She's not the right colour to this guy. What the hell's... Oh, of course it's a composite image, which is why I'm doing this video. Yeah, I'm not with it today. Yeah, so there's signs in the image here with Miss Maxwell, which looks like somebody's gone and tweeted. Try fixing the image, just adjusting the colours, doing noise and other stuff. But then you see stuff here which looks a little bit out of place. It looks like somebody didn't bother doing that. They fixed the image, so I find really weird. But I get so I'm not really going to focus on the issues in this image here, because what we've got here is 3 images. Now I'm just going to show you where they are. So here I have a better tool for this, but I'm lazy. So my belief is that this here with Maxwell, make selection, yep, yep, and so this section here I've just deleted and created a new layer. So my assumption is this is not real. This was never in this main photo. We also have a second image here, which is of Virginia, which, as I've shown you here, there's a lot of marks and anomalies around the image. Enough for me to say also that she's not in this photo. And it's actually a composite of essentially 3 images, but it's a little bit more to this as well. I'm just going to get around the shadow here. Shadow? Person? Wow, I'm really tired. So yeah, we've got these 3 layers. I think basically this is the original photograph. Then we have Virginia here, which is the second layer, which was composited on where you put the hand into shot. Put this little bit of a hand here, which again has very similar telltale marks. And you got round Prince Anderw here, distortion down this backside here, which looks like somebody's tried distorting it, but might actually be my painting. So actually let's just ignore that for now. But this has distortions around it, because I think that's actually me doing the painting. It's like, I didn't recognise that before. Oh my god, oh yeah, it's clearly, no, it's probably not related. But we have this, so where this hand here is, it's got signs of being manipulated. But Virginia here, definitely not in this photograph. And then removing that, we have this main image, which I think was the original image. But it's a little bit more deeper than that, so let's get rid of this now. So I hope you're following along with me and you understand what I'm getting at. So we have our, this is our master full screen one, so let's just drop the HQ below this one, and we're just going to drag this back into shot. Let's use the right one. So this is the I titled it Masterful just so I can find it. Excuse me. Oh, sorry. Right. So this is close to the okay, so right now there are a bunch of images available you can find, and different examples, including another one which tries, I feel, to disprove Prince Andrew's even in this photograph, which is also very heavily photoshopped. It astounds me somebody's going to the trouble of, because they have to prove his, they either are trying to prove Prince Andrew's innocence by making up evidence, or they're trying to make up evidence to discredit somebody. I honestly don't know, and I've got to a point where I'm on the sixth image that somebody sent me, and you know what, I don't care. I'm concentrating on the facts I can prove, and what I can prove here is this is made of 3 images. So I'll show you what I have been sent, which I believe to be a copy of basically what's been entered into evidence for the trial. As provided I haven't actually accidentally deleted it. It shouldn't surprise me. There we go. So this is an image which was sent to me, which pertains to be Prince Andrew's, pertains to be the image which infers that Prince Andrew was next to Virginia, I can't remember her surname, I'm not going to try and remember, and Miss Maxwell. And everything here looks like it is legit, i.e. This looks like a court paper document, the dates seem to match up, and doing a little bit of digging around, it seems to be fine. It seems to be genuine. Excuse me a second. Oh dear. Yeah, sorry. I've had long COVID, and it weakens me really quickly at a certain point, and that's starting to impact me right now. So yeah, what we've got here is what I believe to be the original image which was submitted to the court. Is it genuine? Nope, it's photoshopped heavily, but I believe it's the genuine image which was submitted. So based upon this image is counterfeit, and it's disingenuous. But let's I'm gonna that's what I want to do. So I'm just going to dump it in here. Thank you. So let's just trim this. I want to do that. You can tell I'm tired. Just a minute, didn't I? So deselect that. Delete layer, yes. That's that image. Let's increase the canvas size and go to edit, transform scale. All I need to drop the opacity of that image a bit so I can tell what I'm looking at. Right. Cancel. As you can tell, I'm not with it. I need to get some lines on here. That's useless. Right, okay. Nearly. we go. Okay, so we have, let me just sort this out. Let's go select load selection. That's cool. I'm going to do one. Right. So what I'm trying to do is actually create the background so we get as fuller image as we possibly can here. So I'm just going to do image, camera size, we can give it a height of 35. There we go. Go and go file. Save as. Yep, there we go. So we've got our image, which is as far as I can tell, as close to the original image as possible. Now I have, as you can tell, I've done some distortion to balance. Now I don't know why. I can explain why. So when we look at this image, we can see shadows here, which looks like somebody actually, maybe they put it together. They scanned it so it was wrinkled up and distorted that way. I'm not entirely sure, but basically it's pretty much on the line. So we got here, this line matches with this sort of matches with this. This we know was slightly out, so this is a little bit distorted, but this is also matched up with that, and the faces and the background seem matched up. So I'm going to say this is what the original image would have looked like. We're going to duplicate this layer. Yep. Put that below there. Down. Okay, let's just do this save again. Right, so we now have a layer here called Master Complete. So this is what I see as the original image. So I'm just going to duplicate it because I don't want to go through it palaver again. Because there's an autosave, I don't really want to have it autosave over the top of it. So with it, so if I delete it or change it or keep it the original, I want to actually create a version which, when I look at, if for one reason or another I don't save them as a problem, I can just look at for the deleted, the one which is layer called delete, and just delete it, not have to worry about it. So that's why it's called delete. Right, so let's go into this image. So there's a couple of things. Ow, 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 ow. Sorry, fibromyalgia joy. Right, so let's start off here. So you already understand that this shadow here is not real. It's a Photoshop shadow. But here's a little bit more detail on what's going on here. So I'll bring up the other image in a minute, but if you look here, the white beams just stop. There's no, it doesn't continue through, it doesn't go through like a normal shadow would. Now, when you look at normal shadow, you will see things go through. Now let's get an example. So we have these images of Virginia. I've been told so many times, oh, these are clearly fake, they're bogus images, don't trust them. You know what, they're real. I can't be 100% sure, but oh no, those are faked. But these look real to me. First glance, doing some basic analysing, they look real. So I'm no doubt that they probably are real. So you see here, let's just zoom in a bit. So we have the young person here. You can see the line under the breast. It continues through into the shadow. We can see particles of what looks like the ribbing on the actual top passing through, we can see where the line of the top and the top of the leggings passes through in the shadow. We can see these little finer details and where the shadows go. And again, just whilst it's very difficult to see, we can see there is sort of distortion up here and there's distortion here, even with the overlapping shadow, and it all sort of looks right. Now, as you can see here, because there's a difference in distance, this is a close-up shadow, this is a far-away shadow. Now we revert back to this image, and so when we're looking here, this makes it look, it's a close-up shadow, so it makes it look like she's standing right next to that window, but then we see Miss Maxwell standing between her and that window. So why is it not right? That shadow should be bigger, it should be semi-translucent, so we should see a black line going down here, which is let's do that again, undo brush tool, that's for flow. So we should see something like a black line going down here with detail. So we should see, as you can tell here, we should still see the paint work of a window passing through, but we don't, which tells me straight away that that image has been altered. Somebody's created a shadow, and how they've done it is quite ingenious if you understand how to do it. So I'm just going back there. So I like using the bezel tool because it's quicker for me to do. This is where I get to my skills. Doing a very basic one, but this will do the job. Because we assume they've already created a layer for Virginia here. So if they've got a photo of Virginia from elsewhere, and they've gone and used a tool which is the magic wand, which is this function here, this little button here, which allows you to create a lasso, and then after doing so, they decide to use function here, which is select, load selection, and for previously cut out Virginia, they could just pull that up and use it as stock. So I'm just going to do this very roughly. Partly because I'm actually struggling with paint at the moment. Take her arm off. Damn it. Okay, so it's roughly the shape is not perfect. Make selection, yep, 2 points is good. Do copy, we're going to delete it. We're going to put in the copy here, and we're going to go to this layer here. We're going to go select, load selection again. We're going to put a marquee around, and we're going to go to layer, new layer. That's what we're going to do, and we're going to fill it. This is the drop fill key tool, and there we go. So we've just created a black silhouette. So now we're going to drop that behind layer 1, so it's barely visible, and we're going to use the cursor keys. I keep forgetting to do this, and we're just going to make our fake shadow appear. And it's pretty much as as you can tell here, that's the shadow we're creating, and it kind of matches up with the little bit, because it seems to match up, and that's what I think they've done. So they've gone up and got a selection of Virginia here, which I have from another image, but they've loaded the selection because they've trimmed the image for reasons which I find it hard to believe some of it's not true, but some of the claims are not true because I can see it in the other images. But so as a victim of sexual assault myself, and I've friends who've been in horrible situations, it wouldn't surprise me that the traffickers would have, the person Epstein would have done this, where they would just isolated outer image and then paste it into something else. I do find it hard to believe those parts of it, so yeah. But this is how I think they've made the shadow anyway. This is what it looks like. Now, it could be another way of doing it, where they've just got my pen mark and just run it down the side, but it looks like there's some attention to detail in places and not so much attention to detail in others, which makes me wonder basically what's going on here. Why do they made those decisions? So let's no, that's okay. Let's delete layer. Let's just delete that. Right, so we got this image back. I think that was it, wasn't it? Yeah, that's the one. So we got the image back up now, and I'm going to show you something very interesting with this image. So we're establishing here that Virginia here is not real. She's been added in post-production. So let's look at the image itself. What stands out? What stands out to myself might not stand out straight away to yourself, but photographers, persons analysing the image, it should be something which stands out pretty quickly. There's something a little bit fishy about the image. So first thing is, it's where the actual centre point of the image is. Now, I believe, because we've got the light source here, the photographer was standing in this sort of position here to take the photograph. Now, what gives me that impression? What clues me into this distortion? Now, I'm going to have to look at something. Let's go with filter and stylize. That's one. So it's a tool I like using, which is the emboss tool, to try and bring up anomalies in an image. Because there's something I don't know entirely how they've done it and what they've done, but it's sort of what I'm looking for is signs of alteration in an image. And I'm not talking, I am sort of talking stuff like this, but I'm looking for things which clues of how they may have made that image work. Let's look at that. So you're seeing what I'm doing in real time, because I'm trying to figure something out. Okay, what's that? What was this? What did you do here? So I'll show you what I'm looking at or is of interest to me. So there is a distortion here in the image. So where the square is here, there's distortion just on that side there, and there's distortion here. The other bits I'm not really focusing on, I'm just trying to understand what I'm looking at. So yeah, some strange distortions. Things I'm also looking at is how the curtains appear, how they're textured, and I actually thought this might be curtain just here. I'm not 100% sure. That goes across to that point, and it seems to be consistent. So let me explain what's going on. So when you take a photograph, there's grains in the image. When some elements are retained in the image, so if you're altering an image, you have characteristics which become visible. The problem is when you optimize an image, you create distortions in the image, and it's trying to tell if something is a distortion or if it's an alteration. So like you can see here, there's this line here which is embossed against the background. That's what was it? That's part of a window frame or something to that degree. Let's have a look. Oh yeah, so that's part of a wooden frame. You see how it suddenly stops. Now it's a bit weird because we see here how it stops, and this stops really abruptly, which I'm finding weird. It could be it's Photoshop, but it's where it starts. So the black shadow starts here and goes down. It doesn't start at the top. And then I was wondering if there's some other reason for that anomaly, if there's some distortion, if there's some actual reason for it. Now this looks suspicious to me. Is signs, but something. What am I doing? There's something odd here, disingenuous. So what you have is this bit here. Now I've been thinking that's a doorstop, but I'm not 100% sure on it. The reason why I'm not 100% sure is there's some bits of the image I just cannot make a firm guess on. I can go with what evidence I have, and even doing tricks like this, I'm not 100% sure I'm looking at what I think I'm looking at. Because yeah, there's a distortion there, but up here there is no distortion. Down here there's distortion, but it's consistent with the light reflection. And so I wonder if that's actually just a if that's an artifact of a compression, where there's literally a little bit of reflection just on that side. So where we see that little dip, that little bump up here, if there's just a tiny little sliver of light reflection where the camera saw as light rather than an actual surface, and it interpreted it as part of a surface. Now a good example is if you've got a digital camera, take a photograph of flying pigeons, and some of them might actually just be what looks like if it's from afar, you might see them looking like a golf ball. Others might look like just a wing or a beak or a head or something like that, because of how the image processor processes the image. The term I was always taught was is called the picto anomaly, where as the camera analyzes the image and discharges it, it applies fuzzy logic, and it tries to interpret what the image we're looking. Well, I don't know if it's fuzzy logic. It just basically tries to take a good guess of what it's actually looking at, what this pixel to this pixel is, based upon the surrounding pixels, and it tries to make something from that. I do digital art where I can actually exploit those mistakes and distortions, and you kind of see those problems emerge, and it's quite funny to me how they happen, but it is a bit strange out of the blue. So let's get out of that. So yeah, I'm not sure about that. I think this. So I'm looking literally at this little dimple up here, where just bring the little cursor, you can see it has a little dip. I thought it might be stitched together there, but it looks like that is actually the frame. I'm pretty sure it is a double door, but it could just be a knot. It could be a. Well, I thought it was a. I thought it's a full size double door, but it might actually be a smaller double door. But I don't know where this landing is. I don't know where this foreground image is, but the background, I've seen reports from the Daily Mail saying basically that's Miss Maxwell's house. So yeah, I'm assuming that this is a totally different place. Now I'll show you the bits which I find very interesting here. So let's delve back in. So you can notice this distortion. If you have a look, got this line just on it, you can see the image sort of bows out in one direction, and we see this again here. Not as prominent, but we can see it bows out a bit. And as we get closer and closer, we start getting to this point where it's on the line almost. And then we run across here, where we see it on the line. And we see it distorting here. And this is where it starts to get a little bit interesting, because we've got a straight line down this side. Okay, well, we know that that image is being distorted, but it still shouldn't be like that. I'll explain why. So the more lines we put in, the more you can see there is an actual distinct distortion in the image. So we can work out roughly where this distortion... let me move that to where the other was. So you can roughly work out where this distortion should be. And we see a little bit of a minor distortion here. So there should be straight lines and should be straight. But there's other little characteristics of this image which don't look genuine. So let's go into this a little bit more. So we now go vertical. So that line lines up. That line lines up. This is a very good example of a perspective photograph. So we're going to go just into that line. You see suddenly this is different height to this, which is strange because we've just been looking at how this was all balanced out, and the distortion says it should be somewhere here because that's straight. So we're looking at there should be still a bit of distortion here, but and the center point is somewhere around here. But when we look at this side here, it doesn't seem to make sense. Now, why is that? Well, if you're taking a photograph, depending on where your position is, if you've ever seen Jurassic Park, where it says objects in the mirror appear closer than they are in real life, well, it's kind of that distortion. So the closer you are to an object, it actually appears bigger, and the further away you are from an object, it appears smaller. And so, how we know where the photographer for Prince Andrew's layer, the frontmost layer, is by that distortion. So as you can see here with this line, where we've got the distortion, quite a sizable distortion, we know that the camera is actually on this side of the image. It's not in the centre as this flash bulb suggests, but is actually off to this side. Now it's not far. It's my deduction on this is basically how this is really blurred out in the image is about where the camera person was. So they're about here. Actually, more specifically, they're about here in the image. So they've got basically this comes into image. This is a bit blurry. As we go into this image, we see a bit more blur, but it's more in focus. And then we see Prince Anderw in the background. Again, gets a little bit blurry. But where does this flash come from? This is not the same camera taking the photo here. What's happening is Prince Anderw is off at sort of so he's sort of a tangent, so the camera so this is kind of the position we're looking at. If we're looking at from this so we're basically, the camera person is sort of here taking a photo of Prince Anderw here, and what we should see here, if that was the actual camera flash, it should actually be more oval. So what we're looking at is something which is more like that instead of a circle. But that's a perfect circle, so it means to me that that image, that flash, is not the camera which was used to take this position. So yeah, it's in my opinion, it's altered significantly. Right, so we're going to take a step backwards. It's quicker for me to do that. Yeah, so that's my viewpoint on this. This camera, this position here, this the most forward, the closest layer to us, which has Prince Anderw in the photo, is actually taken at a side position instead of straight on. So what it means, analysing it, this image isn't genuine. There's some other subtle clues which I'm just going to take these bars away because it makes it a little bit harder to spot. So if you looked at the real geometry in this image based on the shadows we're seeing, including the little chair here, which is just in view, this window would be sort of about here in this view. So this staircase would go behind that window if it's in real space, based upon what we see in the image. The distortions in the geometry of the image make that assumption that that window would not be in that room. It would be sort of looking down onto the staircase which goes behind, which is what we're looking at here. We also know in the image where the fake shadow originated from. So the person who created this image, this is the shadow they've used as a reference. Now if you look at it, you've got a real shadow here, and you've got a little tiny one here, real shadow here, this is in shadow here, and we don't see any other references, real references in the image, except maybe just on Prince Andrew's face here, which might be genuine. It looks genuine. There is some distortion on the image, so just over here there's a distortion, and around the head there's distortion, but this might be from from the type of compression used. So I'm just going to zoom in and show you. I'm going to use the that one. So we've got a little distortion here, but you can see this distortion line. So filter, stylize, emboss. Okay, I'm just gonna... So you can see this line here. That must be in compression. I was looking at. Yeah, so you've got a line down this side, which I think is actually a real shadow. In the image there is lots of signs of artifacts of compression, so I think, based upon these roughness here, I think the distortion we have down this side is the real shadow, and it's so we got this is the shadow I'm referring to, and this distortion is from the compression. Yeah. Still there though. There's also this, but anyway. So yeah, I think this is the real image anyway. I'm gonna assume it's the real image, and let's go from there. So yeah, that's basically my conclusion on this. This image is a counterfeited image. It's made up of 3 different images. So Miss Maxwell in this image here isn't in the real space. That's an inserted image. Virginia here is also an inserted image on top of the underlying image, which is of Prince Anderw here. Aside from that, each of these little elements seems to make sense, and it doesn't seem to distort too much. It pretty much lines up for the image, but it implies the photographer was here, so that flash cannot be true. That cannot be the same camera. We also don't see too much of a distortion in this area here. It implies that basically this is the center point of how this camera is taken. However, we don't see a distortion in the window, so it can't be the same camera. When we look at how the light pattern is on the face, we see light reflections here in the cheek. We see other very soft light reflections consistent with the camera looking straight at us. We see again the lightness in the face where there's reflection. Again, implies the camera's looking towards us. And then we look at Prince Andrew's eyes and we notice this little bump here. So we're just going to show you that I'm having one of those days. So yeah, we have this little interesting thing. It looks like somebody who's trying to reposition the eyes. As you can tell, they look really weird. Let's go into the HQ image, and again you can see there's a little bit of distortion here, and the spot's now let's check the cleverly compressed. Okay. Oh, okay, yeah, it's another alter. So why did they alter this image? Is that an artifact of the compression, or is that an altered image? I think somebody tried altering this. Oh, okay. Oh, fair play to them. So yeah, that's a distortion. So yeah, that's not in the original image. That's why I was just checking here with this image to see if the eye was actually distorted in this image, which is a submission, and we can see the artifacts of the image which look funny, but we can't see the major distortion here. So I don't think that was in the, I think somebody just did a little bit of fixing the image, or it's because there's a glitch in the compression algorithm when it tried working out what the image was. I don't know. Let's have a look at the high quality image. Yeah, I think that's a compression algorithm issue. Yeah, let's go with that as a compression algorithm issue. Yeah, okay, I'll go with that. That seems logical. That's fine. That's fine. Yeah. So that's my opinion. That's from my own personal, my personal professional opinion. That this image has basically been altered from the original. So. Everything here so everything here basically in red is the original image, Okay, I kind of thought about it a different way. So then you've got Virginia here, which is separate element. So she was painted into the image after the photo's been taken, and she's now basically inserted element. And then Miss Maxwell in the background here is also a separate element of this. I think that pretty much covers everything I need to say about it. I have done a much more detailed report, but to be fair, I'm just quite tired at the moment. I just thought I'd do this so we've got some context here. Now there is an image which has been doing the circuit, which is annoying me, which is this one, I believe. There you go. Yeah, it's this one. So this one has been reported as being FBI evidence and actual evidence through law enforcement. So this is the image which has been tweeted around saying basically this is Prince Andrew's body double and this is the strange Irish guy, whatever. And so this is the image we actually see being distributed about. Now, I think I have a better quality image of that. I have no idea where it is. Okay, let's hide that. So there's a couple of things in this image which make it very obvious this has been photoshopped. First place is, if you have a look on the floor here, you can see this is not there. This is not there, which seems to be reflecting. But then also look, there's no reflection of Prince Andrew. There's no reflection of Virginia. There's no reflection of Miss Maxwell. We also should be seeing a shadow going off so and so off the legs. We don't see that in this image. And we do see here a very interesting shadow which is wrong. It shouldn't be there. This shadow is very barely noticeable, and just in the corner here should be much darker, as you can see in this this image. You've got this little spot here which is very dark. The shadow here is barely noticeable, but in this image we have a big shadow which is down this side here. And it doesn't make any sense why that's there, because you've got a light source here projecting light onto this wall, and we've got a light source here projecting light onto this wall, and the person would have taken a flash. So the only place it would realistically be is just in this spot here. So that doesn't seem consistent. Shadow here is right for the position, because if you add an angle, that's where the shadow would be. And again, we can see quite heavy distortion here. This is where the image has so how do I describe this? This image has been rotated. So edit, transform, no, wrong key. Edit, transform. Try one more time. Rotate. So what the artist has done here to make it look more convincing is they've rotated the image by about how much? Yeah, about how much, in making the image work, but it's not how you might imagine. So we're going to go into transform, and we're going to do distort. So they've gone and changed it from what it was here. Changed it to that and corrected it here. I think that's right. And then they alter the face, so we're nearly there. Oh, I got to that, haven't I? Edit, transform, scale. That looks about right. So that's the alterations they've made to the image to make it look a bit more convincing. This is examples of somebody using clone tool. So again, we're going to punch it up and we're going to deliberate clone so you get an idea what's going on here. Alt, and we're just going to pick here. So you can see that trouser's been repeated. Now if I go here again and go here, we see what's happening here, where there's an almost identical clone of that pattern from one side to the other. This side would have been the original, that will be the cloned version, because you can see it's a little darker, less distorted in the image. As for the rest of the image, you can see examples of photoshopping, blur tool and so on, but where's the chair gone? The chair's no longer there. The fake shadow has now been removed. Her hand is now being moved more closer to the hip, whereas if you look in this image, her hand is actually resting on the shadow, it's not on her hip, which also looks really out of place, and again indicates that this area here, which you can see distortion here and just here, was being used to basically manipulate the arm into a new position, and just to hide the fact where it was naturally positioned, this makes it look like it's a little bit further back. It's a little bit distorted and a little bit warped. But pretty much that's how they've done it. So if I do that guy mark again, and there, we should have those straight again. Oh yeah, almost. That's straight, yep, there we go. So this is consistent with the other image. So that's how I think they've faked it. So yeah, you need, let's just do, yeah, I think they've taken either Prince Anderw here, or they've gone to the head and ooh, that's a bad one. Fine, I'll do it the old-fashioned way. So they've probably done this to fake it. There's quite a few of these, but they're pretty much the same thing. It's all to prove the theory that this is a different head. Make selection, that's fine. Copy. Delete. Let's go to a new layer. Edit, transform. And that's pretty much what I think they've done to make this image. So they've taken the original image, stretched it out, and then they've done the distortions to make it work. But it's fake as well. So at the end of the day, the image we have here with Prince Anderw is counterfeit. So this forward image here with just Prince Anderw, the painting, the light source here, and the frame, and that's real. That's the original image. Background image here is fake. It's been added into the actual image. It's from a different image. And Virginia here, who has light reflections very similar to Maxwell here, is from a totally different image again to Prince Anderw. So what's happened is with Prince Anderw we have light source on the left hand side of the face, which looks convincing, but then when you factor in that we have the distortion here, telling us a clue that the images, the photographer basically was on the right side of the image and not straight on as this flashbulb implies, it's a counterfeit image. I hope that suffices to explain this all. I've tried to give as much detail as I can, and as I say, with this is bogus. This is just somebody either trying to discredit an argument, or somebody's actually trying to just prove by making stuff up that this is the case. Whereas this is something I found purely by chance back on the 6th of February. I literally seen a video clip with Prince Anderw talking about he never went upstairs at Maxwell's house, and he doesn't remember a photo. Maybe it's Photoshop, and I kind of piqued my curiosity. I had to watch a video where he's talking about that. I saw no signs of deception, so I thought, you know what the hell, let's have a look at the image, because up to that point if I was being told again and again, oh, there's this picture, but to be fair, I've not been watching the news much. I will go on YouTube, I'll watch something there, that way I can actually filter what I'm actually watching. I'll read articles and journals, which I've been pretty focused on the pandemic, so far too many thousands of papers and journals and stuff you don't want me to express. And I saw this image, looked at it, and saw the shadow straight away and went, that's wrong, that's been photoshopped. Then started looking a little bit more detailed on the left side and right side of Virginia, and noticed that the image had been altered. It'd been the dodge tool, the blur, the clone tool had been used to basically hide the line where an image would be layered on top of another. So again, this image is disingenuous. So Virginia is not in that same photograph. And then started looking at Maxwell behind and noticed it's some really strange things going on in the image, things that don't quite make sense. So for example, we have how the flash is reflected here, how the lines don't quite make sense. There should be a curve still visible here, but we don't see any distortion. It's all straight and all fine. So show you here. I know these are curtains, but there should still be some degree of distortion there, and we don't really see it. It doesn't quite make sense. They're still pretty much lined up. Oops, come on, on you go. So yeah, it seems to pretty much line up, but then moments earlier there's this where there's still visible distortion in the image, and it doesn't add up. And the more you look, the more problems I found with the image. Then started looking for, well, I can see there's a flash bulb there, but if the background's not genuine and Virginia's not genuine, are there other clues in this image to tell me where the photographer was? And admittedly, I'm not looking at this image, I'm looking at this image to begin with. And so I'm looking at an image which doesn't really make sense. So what I'm looking at is this, and I can't quite figure out what's wrong with it. So I went searching for another image to look for a slightly more high quality image, and started noticing problems. So go here, we see it's a little distorted, so I started looking for a high quality image, found a high quality image, and noticed all these little problems with the geometry of the image, which told me basically the camera person is off more to the right than the left. Now I've done a, let's see, did I send them across here? Are they elsewhere? I can't see it. I did a little video on my bathroom of the bathroom tiles showing that perspective effect. But I may not actually have it here. Probably don't. So this is all the working out I did to work out the anomalies and so on, because I can see something in the photoshopping tool I was using, which was Pixelmate from the iPad, but I actually want to be sure to go firing up Photoshop to actually look at it. Here's an example of what I mean by the shadow. So this is an image I created. I used the distort tool and the liquify tool to distort the shadow so it would look more correct. So all I've done is select load selection around this lizard. Of that load selection shadow, distortive a shadow, so it could be placed underneath the lizard and look a little bit more like the light is actually over here instead of being over here when the photo was taken. So that meant also going into where the lizard is here and highlighting the top of the surface, and brightness touches here to make it infer that the light source was over here and not over here. So when I started compositing the image, I could make it look really poignant that the light source, there's one light source here, one light source here, and it looks like it's faked, even though it kind of doesn't as well. So anyway, I think I've covered everything now. Thank you very much for watching this video. I know it's off topic to my normal ones, but I really think it's important to address this, because I'm seeing more and more reports with people saying, oh, he's guilty, why did he settle, and so on. You know what? He's being harassed again and again, and I think it's literally because he's innocent and he's being upfront about it, and you've been put in a situation where no one seems to have his back, and there are a lot of people out there trying to make allegations which I don't think are true. A good example is there's a police officer at the royal household who said basically, I saw him brush his brow, and when you watch the video, the guy seems to be lying. I can see there's a sudden change in his demeanour and how he interprets the information. He's up to that point, he's got seems to be vindictive and have a grievance against Prince Anderw, talking about a royal guard going into the pond and picking up golf balls. It sounds strange, but to be fair, I think he was being honest. The emotions, the way he used his eyes to look up and try and... He had that moment where his emotions are stopping whilst he's recalling something, whereas later on we see him, when he's talking about Prince Anderw, he's going... And you can see his eyes are moving and he's thinking, he's processing. It's not he's not like in the zombie state where he's deep thinking. He's trying to make something up to tell a story, and it jumps out at me if something's wrong. He seems very vindictive about this. Oh, I've got to prove this is right. I saw him. I'm principal proof, and I don't believe him. But then that's my personal opinion. That's why I'm watching stuff. I watched the was it Newsnight interview? Aside from the beginning where I think he actually Prince Andrew talks about partying, which I don't think is true. I think he did. I think he's a party animal. Rest of the interview, I didn't really see any signs of deception. I think he was being upfront. He looked very, very agitated, looked very, very uncomfortable, but I didn't see any signs of distortion. I didn't see intention to manipulate. I just saw somebody being pretty upfront and very uncomfortable in that situation. Anyway, so I hope you like the video. If it's not your cup of tea, fair enough. I literally put my name to this on Twitter, and I've just got really sick of all the other, oh, I'm using this to prove so and so's innocent, or oh, this is a conspiracy, you work for it. You know what? I just do advanced Photoshop, and I have principles, and my principle is I saw that this image was altered, and I'm going to be upfront, but since this image is altered, it's not genuine. I'm going to be upfront and say, hey, it's not genuine. I have no intentions, and I not benefit from this. I don't want money. I don't want fame. I hide from fame if I can. I just want to make sure that the truth gets across, that based upon solely the evidence I have from this image, not my opinions and whatsoever, just from this image is disingenuous. It's a counterfeit image made up of 3 different images. So you've got the proof here, and if you're watching this and thinking, oh, he doesn't understand what he's doing, just try it yourself. Try figuring out how this image is constructed, because this is a pretty big clue. But there's something very, very wrong with this image. When you have a distortion in the image like this, where these two lines here don't add up, other parts of this image don't quite add up, and you start realizing that this image here, this part of the image here, is closer than this part of the image. And so what's going on here? So that's larger. So when we're looking here, the gap from, oh no, can't do that. The gap from here to here is larger than the gap from here down to here. So it implies that this side is closer than the other side. And if that's closer than the other side, then it means the image is not taken straight on. It's distorted, i.e. the camera person is off on one side and it's not straight on. Whereas these two persons, the camera is straight on. So yeah, it's disingenuous. Okay, well, thank you very much for watching. Take care now. Let's quit that. Don't save, don't need to save. That can go. Thank you very much. Take care now. Bye.